Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the VoV podcast, Voices of Vic. Today I am here with U of T graduate, Zach Joseph. He's also a natural bodybuilder. I checked out your fitness account. Insane. Absolutely unreal. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
For someone who wants to make 2025 their year, how did they not fall off?
My biggest thing is I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions. People ask, how are you so motivated? It's not even the fact that I'm motivated. It's just I can't imagine my life without going to the gym because I've made it such a staple in my daily routine. I started off 120 pounds at like 5'11". I was really skinny. And I started off with these very superficial reasons. Like a lot of kids my age, I wanted to look like those superheroes you see on TV, and I wanted to get more girls. I genuinely think that there is a steroid epidemic going around, especially around young people. Social media has really propelled this. My parents are from a state in India called Kerala, a state in India with the highest Christian population among any other state. So they came to Canada in the 90s. I was born in 2002, and I grew up going to church every Sunday. And only recently I started to actually pray more. And it's also important to make the distinction between faith and religion. Religion is constructed by humans, therefore there are going to be human flaws. But in my third year, I joined Phi Kappa Sigma. Shout out Phi Caps. I really enjoyed my time as a student. Our campus at U of T is beautiful. It was a bittersweet moment graduating. University isn't directly responsible for my personal growth, but I would not be the same person I am without going to university.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the VoV podcast, Voices of Vic. Today I am here with U of T graduate, Zach Joseph. He's also a natural bodybuilder. I checked out your fitness account. Insane. Absolutely unreal. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm honestly really excited to be here, Carter, and I have a lot of respect for you, especially because you provide a platform for students and members, of U of T to kind of express their opinions and express themselves. And I feel like that's something that we don't see too often, especially on our campus. And so I really appreciate what you do, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, bro. I did not pay him to say that either. This is off the blue. I appreciate it. This is going to be a good conversation. This is the last podcast of 2024. Thank you for being the one to close it out. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about fitness, self-improvement, especially. I think you're the guy to talk to about, New Year's resolutions. When you get in the gym, January is the most packed month for the gym because you have a lot of the people there. They're like, let's go. It's going to be a great year. And eventually they kind of fade out. The regular gym goers know the January gym goers aren't that serious all the time.
Yeah.
So maybe we can just start off the bat. Obviously, I'm going to ask you about a little bit more of your experience in the gym, your experience at U of T even. We'll talk about a lot of different stuff.
Sure.
But just to start out as advice, for someone who wants to make 2025 their year, how did they not fall off?
Well, my biggest thing is I don't really believe in New Year's resolutions. You kind of hear that a lot. Like, I'm a big fan of David Goggins. I'm sure you know who David Goggins is.
Absolutely.
He has this one video where he's criticizing winter arcs.
Yeah, I saw it.
He basically says, there's no such thing as a winter arc. There's got to be a fucking circle.
Yeah.
That's what he says. And I really believe that's true, because if you think that one day you're magically going to wake up and feel motivated, that's just not how life is. You know what I mean? You have to make a conscious choice every day to choose to improve yourself, whether that's January 1st or December 15th, like today is, you know what I mean? So I believe if you don't make the choice to change right now in this moment, you never really will. And if you do decide to have a New Year's resolution, it won't really stick unless you really make that conscious effort every single day. Yeah,
absolutely. And it gets easier. The start is the hardest part. It comes to a point where they say that habits are very hard to break, whether it's good habits or bad habits. I realized that once I got into the gym consistently, it was hard to stop going to the gym. Like I would have to actually put effort to not go.
Yeah.
Because eventually, after you miss a few days, you feel like shit.
Yeah.
So as soon I don't know how long exactly it takes, but if you can get past that stereotype of being the January gym goer, of making it busy then, and then the rest of the year it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
It'll be better.
Yeah. I think a big part of that is just forming an identity with going to the gym.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like if you start going consistently, you just start to become this person that goes to the gym frequently. It doesn't become a chore. It doesn't become something that you have to think about to do. It's just who you are. Like Absolutely. For me, for example, I genuinely, like, people ask, how are you so motivated? And it's not even the fact that I'm motivated. It's just I can't imagine my life without going to the gym because I've made it such a staple in my daily routine to like track my meals, to stay on my diet, to go to the gym and stick to a workout routine. And it's gotten to a point where I've been doing this for so many years that I can't imagine my life without it. And I think with any type of habit that you want to form, you just have to do it repeatedly over and over until it becomes part of you. Yeah,
absolutely. And okay, so maybe let's walk through your start. How did you get started in the gym? Was there a period for you where you had to motivate yourself?
Yeah.
Or were you always this big guy?
Yeah, no, definitely not. I started off lifting weights in high school. A lot of my friends we had like a little gym in our school, in our high school. So some of my friends after school, we'd hit a few lifts here and there. And I started off like 120 pounds at like 5'11" at that time. I was really, really skinny. And I started off for lifting weights with these very superficial reasons, you know what I mean? Like a lot of kids my age, I wanted to look like those superheroes you see on TV. And I wanted to get more girls. Those were the two main reasons why I think every kid starts working out.
100%.
And as I got more into it, I was also playing basketball too, so I wanted to get better at my sport. But as I got more into the gym, I started to realize like this is a space where I can really, really just forget about all my problems. And number one, I can really just focus on one task at hand, and that's very liberating for your mind.
100%.
And number two, it gave me something that I could progress towards. So I started out in about 2018, 2019. I was playing basketball around that time. And then 2020, when COVID hit, that's when I kind of really started to lock in on this thing because gyms were closed, school was out, and there was pretty much nothing going on in my life except for the gym. I had a little home gym, little setup with barbells and dumbbells. And to be honest, like my life kind of sucked at that time, but I had the gym and that gave me something to progress towards. I felt like in school I was kind of plateauing because we were just doing like online quizzes and things like that. My social life was tanked. I didn't really have anything to look forward to, but I did have every single time I went into my basement and lifted, the numbers went up. Or I noticed a new vein on my bicep. And seeing that little progression every single week was just so motivating, you know what I mean? And those results kind of fueled into more love for the gym. And at that time, I don't know if you know guys like David Lade.
I've never heard of him.
Yeah, there's a lot of like fitness influencers that I started to watch. David Lade, James English, Lex Little. They started posting these transformation videos on YouTube that were going crazy viral. And this is when I'm really into the gym at this point. And I was like, yo, if they can do it, why can't I? You know what I mean? And that's when it started to really snowball. And here I am now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's important to have that progression, that just inch after inch, every workout, if you can at least just do one more rep. You can see that's a win.
It's such a win, man.
You have to, because obviously everyone has this, like you said, this big dream of like getting the girls and looking like Batman and all this kind of thing. But if you can shorten that down, if you like, obviously that's a big picture, but if you can just say, if I can get more reps in this workout than I did last workout, I'm getting there.
Exactly.
I'm getting there. And that's awesome. So yeah, I think that's a really good thing. In terms of, it's a fitness question. It's skipping my mind. Right. Talking about bodybuilding. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Sebum has just announced his retirement from performing.
Heartbreaking, yeah.
So there's a thing that you, I think, consider from time to time, which is natural versus non-natural bodybuilding.
Yes.
You're completely natural?
Completely natural, yeah.
Okay. So and natural meaning no steroids. Do you do other kind of like creatine, this kind of thing?
Yeah, I take supplements. I take creatine, protein powder,
100%.
stuff like that.
But that's nothing like, or that's not what we're talking about, steroids. 100%.
Exactly,
it's a little bit different. What do you think the culture around that is in the bodybuilding space?
Yeah. Honestly, this is something I can go on for years talking about. I genuinely think that there is a steroid epidemic going around, especially around young people. And I think social media has really propelled this. You know what I mean? You'll be scrolling on social media. I don't know if you follow a lot of like fitness influencers, but if you follow one fitness influencer, basically your entire feed becomes bodybuilding, right?
Yeah.
So I'll be scrolling and I'll see like a 17-year-old with like 18-inch biceps. And I'm like, bro, this guy's been lifting for 1 year and he's like twice my size.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, a lot of these kids are hopping on steroids because they see everyone else is doing it.
Yeah.
And they only see like the positives of it. They see people winning these shows. They see people making ridiculous progress within months, within years. Yeah. But they don't see the negative side effects of it. They don't see how it's affecting your hormones, how it's affecting your health. And a lot of young, impressionable kids, they'll see natural bodybuilders who spend 8, 9, 10 plus years committing to the sport and making just incremental progress every year. And they see the kid who hops on gear within 2 years is massive. And they immediately think, why would I do natural bodybuilding?
Yeah.
And it's very logical for them to think that. I don't blame them. But at the same time, I think it's a result of a lot of misinformation in society. And the promotion of steroid use is not really beneficial because a lot of kids are hopping on gear without knowing what it's going to do to their hormones, what it's going to do to their health.
What are the main risks?
So number one, like if you're taking something like testosterone, for example, you're basically exogenously putting a hormone into your body. Yeah. And that's going to signal to your body like, oh, I'm getting testosterone exogenously. Why would I endogenously want to produce it?
Okay.
So like a lot of people, like once they hop off a cycle, they'll notice their testosterone crashes because they're used to getting it from an external source. Their body stops producing it. There's also obviously like acne is a big thing. Yep. It's really bad for your heart too because apparently your heart like grows. It's like a muscle basically. So that also responds to gear. Mm-hmm. Just a bunch of negative things that I don't think 99% of the population would want to deal with those side effects. Right. You know, obviously there is that 1% people who do it for their careers. Also bodybuilders, of course. I totally understand that. But if you're just trying to look good, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't naturally try to reach your dream physique because it's very possible to reach it naturally. Yeah. And
I guess that you're living proof of that. So
thank you.
Your fitness page, is this just is this a hobby thing for you? Is this something that perhaps you'd want to see a career in fitness? Like how are you working with that? Because I think it has potential.
Yeah, I honestly, since I got into like this lifting thing, that's always been the dream. Yeah. To kind of pursue something in the fitness industry. I don't know what exactly it's going to be. Right now I'm starting to lean towards like online coaching. Yep. I'm starting to just coach a few buddies on the side. And I believe that's a business model that can be very successful just because it's something that's always going to be in demand for, you know what I mean? And you're providing value. You're helping people reach their dream bodies. Yep. And I find that type of work to be very meaningful. Yep. So that's what I'm working towards right now. I really want to grow my page. Of course, I just started dialing in on it a bit more recently. Yep. With my show. I started posting a bit more content. But yeah, it's a work in progress, but I definitely do see the potential in it, and I do want to push it a little harder. Yeah,
that's sweet. We'll put it in the description, pop it up on the screen.
Yes, sir.
Go follow the account.
ZJ Fit.
There you go. So you are planning on performing in 2026.
Yes. Yeah.
How has that process been?
It's been, I'd say it's been a little bit stressful.
Are you already thinking about it now? In
Yeah.
terms of like does preparation start already?
Yeah. Honestly, so I'll give you like a rundown on how preps work for bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So basically, a prep is a certain period. On average, I'd say anywhere between 10 to 20 weeks. Yeah. Where you're basically in a calorie deficit and you're basically getting your body to the condition necessary to hop on stage.
Yeah.
So that can consist of, dropping your calories, sticking to like a strict diet, increasing your cardio. And over time, you kind of get more and more dialed in as the weeks go on. But before prep, you need to do something called an off season, which is what I'm in right now. Yep. And that's where you're basically building size. You're either in a calorie surplus or you're maintaining. And that's basically, you don't expect to build your physique during prep, during that 10 to 20 week phase. Your goal is only to burn off all the fat on your physique.
Right.
The real building of the physique happens during the off season, which is a lot less exciting. That's when you're just shoving food down your throat. You're hitting workouts. You kind of look like shit because you got more fat on you. But that's where champions are made. Champions are made in the off season because that's where you actually build the muscle.
Right.
So right now I'm committing to like 2.5 year off season. My last show was November 2023. My next show is going to be July 2026. And during those 2.5 years, I really just want to build as much size as possible before starting prep and before shedding off all that fat to really uncover what I've built. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. You said when you started you were 120. Could I ask you what you weigh right now?
I am 185 right now.
185. Okay. That's awesome. And gaining that weight, it's difficult. I think it's easier for some people. It's harder for others. I personally struggle with gaining weight. My dream weight is 180. I actually started at 175. I was 175 in the summer. And then I started running more. I was like, I'm going to try to train up for this race. And I dropped like 20 pounds. So I think right now I'm at like 160 maybe. Which is, I'd rather be strong than have the cardio personally. Obviously it's ideal to have both. But how has it been for you eating all that food to get you to 185?
I don't know about you, but I have a super quick metabolism. I'm sure you can relate. And it's really simple, but you just gotta eat more, bro. That's all it comes down to. And I'm the type of person where losing weight for me is really easy. You know what I mean? When I was on prep, sure, I was hungry. I felt very tired and irritable, and I was starving all the time, but I was able to lose fat very easily. For me, gaining weight's the hard part. And what's helped me is really just committing to like a strict meal plan. Like for me, I eat pretty much the same exact thing every single day. I have 5 meals, and there's very little variation.
5 meals a day.
Yes.
There you go.
And I feel like once you know exactly what you're going to eat every single day to hit your caloric surplus, it eliminates a lot of mental friction.
That's a good point.
Because you're not really thinking about, what am I going to eat to hit this remaining 800 calorie little window. You know what I mean? You know exactly what you're going to eat. It's just a matter of executing the plan.
Right. Here's something I'm wondering. You say you don't believe in New Year's resolutions. It's not an arc, it's a circle.
It's a circle.
David Goggins, there you go. So how is it? I'll ask you this, because sometimes you have to reposition your goals. Sometimes you have this target and you're still aiming for the target, but you're like, maybe I need to take this angle. This approach isn't doing the way, or isn't working the way I thought it would. How do you adjust and plan for different types of goals? How do you set goals? Is this something that you kind of have a process to? Is it more just you're flowing with it? How does it work?
I'd say a little bit of both. Like I definitely do flow with it a bit. But I do believe that you always need to have some type of goal in mind to keep you on track. For me, I don't know if you've heard of like the carrot and stick analogy.
No.
There's two types of motivation. So one's a stick. It's like your past pain, anything you've gone through in the past that's kind of motivating you, or the carrot, which is the goal in front of you, what you're trying to achieve. I think I'm a little bit more like carrot oriented. I'm more driven by purpose and like goal attainment. And I think for me, at least, if I don't have a goal in mind, I kind of get lost. You know what I mean? I kind of get lost, and it leads to not only anxiety, but it leads to just a lack of action. Procrastination for sure. Like when I remember when I was on prep, for example, last year, I felt probably the most motivated I ever had because I have such a huge goal in front of me, right? And basically I did a 15-week prep, and for those entire 15 weeks, that was pretty much the only thing I was focused on. And the second I finished my show, I got hit with what I like to call post-show blues, where you have this huge, massive goal, and the second you've basically reached that goal, for me it was going on stage for the first time, the second it's over, you're like, what do I do now? You know what I mean? And for like the days after my show, I was in like this massive rut. I was eating cookies like 24/7. I think one day, like the day after my show, I think I had 6,000 calories.
Wild.
And it was like primarily just sugar.
Yeah.
I remember gaining like 8 pounds in like 2 days. Thankfully, I was still working with my coach at the time, and he kind of held me accountable and got me back on track within a week. And once that week ended, I was like, okay, why did I feel so depressed after that? And it was because I didn't set a goal right after my show ended.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I did feel lost for those few days. So I was like, okay, what is my goal now? It's clearly not going to be something as exciting or glamorous as hopping on stage, but I need something to work towards.
Yeah.
And my coach had a plan for me to do a reverse diet, which is basically after a show, your body's very insulin sensitive. It's very easy for you to gain water and gain fat. So reverse diet is basically you're re-increasing your calories.
Right.
You're slowly dropping your cardio, so that way your body can naturally regain health and regain performance. So I said, okay, you know what? For the next 4 weeks, I'm really going to commit to this reverse diet. And that was my goal. It wasn't as glamorous as hopping on stage, like I said, but it was something to work towards. And no matter what like phase of training I'm in, there's always some type of goal. Right now, my goal is to reach 190 pounds. So it's just about having these small goals. There's obviously the macro goal. There's a big goal, but you have to divide it among some small goals to get there. Yeah.
That's good. What do you think? Well, I'll ask you personally, but then maybe you can give a comment on just how people struggle in general. But for you, what have been the main distractions from reaching these targets? I don't know, maybe you're just locked in 24/7, but surely there has been a time where you had a goal, or maybe you wanted to reach this physique, but the world around you, like you said, during COVID perhaps was not, ideally set up, actually, I don't really believe in that. I don't believe in saying the world around you set up, but obviously you might be in a state where you're letting these things penetrate your mind and your motivation. So I'll ask for you, like, what have there been any big distractions in your life that you've had to kind of fight off?
Yeah. I think everyone deals with them, and I'm not perfect either. Like I fall to these distractions all the time. It's just a matter of being like conscious of them and working around them. Like for example, I was in a fraternity in my 3rd and 4th year of university, and I remember during my 4th year, that was when I was doing my prep, and dude, it was insane because it wasn't even the parties that was driving me crazy. It was the fact that I was in a house with like 15 other dudes.
15.
Yeah. It was a big house. Yeah. And I was eating like the most boring meals, like just chicken and rice, and all these guys were like Uber Eatsing McDonald's, you know what I mean, having all this junk food, and I was like, the cravings were crazy. But the goal of sticking to the plan and going on stage in 15 weeks was all I needed to motivate me to kind of stay away from that. But there have been times I've noticed, especially when the vision and the goal isn't as clear, where I've noticed it's been a lot easier for me to fall into those distractions, where it's been easy for me to say, okay, you know what, maybe I'll have a cheat meal. Maybe I'll skip a meal if I'm in an off season and I'm trying to grow. Maybe I'll skip a meal. Or maybe I'll go out, maybe I'll go drinking. And these things aren't inherently bad. Like I do believe in balance. Like you should have fun here and there. But I feel like if you allow distractions to consume you on a frequent basis, you become a person with like no values. Like what do you actually believe in if you say something and you don't do it? So it's something that I'm working on 24/7, you know what I mean? Trying to keep my mind right, trying to stay sharp. Especially during the off season, because that's when it's so easy to just let your foot off the gas, right? Because the goal is so far away. I definitely say like it's something that I deal with as well. Distractions.
100%. I think that a key thing there is not losing respect for yourself, and perhaps people don't think that they have, but just like I'll look at me, like definitely I've dealt with the same things. If you step back, if you objectively, you don't know this person, but you see someone who scrolls on their phone every day, who
that's a big distraction, by the way.
100%.
That's been killing me. That's been killing me. Yeah.
Scrolls on their phone every day, sleeps in, doesn't eat right, goes to the gym sometimes, not very consistent with it, you're not going to respect. You can be like, this guy's a loser.
Exactly. Yeah.
But just look in the mirror.
Yeah.
These are the things that you have to deal with. And you're like, no wonder that you're failing on your goals. It's easy to say, I'm not going to go to the gym today because you have no respect for yourself. Because look at all the other stuff you're failing on. You got the basic stuff of just like, a lot of the times it's not even about doing things, it's about cutting things out. It's about cutting out the bad stuff so that you can actually think that, okay, you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm proud of the person that I've been acting like.
Exactly. So, I always think about that. It's like, if you're going to work and your boss tells you to do something, you're going to do it, right? Because you respect your boss.
That's right.
But if you tell yourself to do something, what's stopping you from doing it? It's a lack of self-respect at the end of the day. And it's something I think we all need to work on. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's about, I don't know if you read this book, Atomic Habits.
I have, yeah.
It's a great
banger.
book.
Yeah.
So he talks about basically casting votes to your new self, because all you are your habits. You are what you do.
Exactly.
So I don't know exactly what the range would be, but even let's say like 3 months. Let's say 90 days. So what do your past 90 days look like? So let's say if you're in the complete rut, let's say 90 days, every day of those 90, you're scrolling on your phone. You say, today's the day, I'm going to stop. I'm going to reinvent myself. First day, now it becomes 89 to 1. Okay. 80, then next day, 88 to 2. Eventually, the last 90 days, 3 months later, you are a completely different person. You're the guy that doesn't scroll on their phone.
Exactly, yeah. So, and you have that proof to back it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in high school, I always used to believe that confidence was like a mindset, because I'd see my friends and they were confident. I'm like, I deserve to be confident, whatever. I believe in myself, which helped a little bit. But as you mature, you realize confidence is actually built in with action. It's built in with competence. So when you are doing things for real, and you can't, like, logically, you cannot reason that you are a person that doesn't deserve respect. Just looking at the way you live your life, writing it down on a piece of paper and being like, with this person, no name, John Doe, does he deserve respect? I'd say yes, or I'd say no if you're not living up to what you want to be. So it's fun. I don't know. Life's great. Life's a game. You know, I don't know if
it
you
really
see that
is.
way.
It really is. And yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if you've heard the quote, but it goes something like, confidence doesn't come from you shouting affirmations in the mirror. It comes from having an undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are. And it is so true. Like, the best times of my life, and the times where I felt the best about myself, it's not when I was partying, it's not when I was traveling, it's not when I was doing like all this quote unquote fun things. It was more when I was just doing the things I told myself I would do. And it can be the most basic thing. It can be just waking up on time, making your bed in the morning, sticking to the habits that you plan to stick to. Just doing these small things, when you say you're going to do them, it makes all the difference in how you feel. It really does.
Absolutely. And I honestly see it as like a competition. I see it as a game. I think that this is something that I feel like young men are starting to pick up more, that life is competitive and that, you know, every day you're trying to win the day. The reason they say win the day is because you could lose. It's competition. You could lose the day.
I promise you, losing the day is probably the worst feeling you can have. Going to bed knowing that you could have done more. And you decided to be lazy, it eats you away. 100%. It really does. It really does.
It doesn't take long to realize how much you can actually get done in 24 hours. I mean, like, if anyone believes that they have a packed schedule, I would say, look at Elon Musk. If you're not as busy as him, look at all the stuff he's running. I think you're fine. You can figure something out.
A lot of it, I think, also has to do with thinking. You know what I mean? A lot more thinking and not doing. You know, thinking about the thing is not doing the thing. The only way to kind of relieve yourself of that anxiety is to actually do the thing that's stressing you out. There's this spot in Guelph that I go to with some of my friends. It's like it's a quarry, which is basically like a mine. And over time, like rainwater kind of filled it up, so it's like it's basically like a good cliff jumping spot. And I went there for the first time this summer, and I remember looking over the edge, and the more I was looking over it, it was like a 30-foot jump. I was like, the more I was looking over it, I'm like, yo, I'm not going to do this. My brain started to think about all these like horrible situations. Oh, what if I fall and hit my head on a rock? What if I die? What if I never see my mom again? And then my friend, like, he's right behind me. He's like, I'm going to count down from 3 and you're just going to do it. I said 3, 2, 1. And I did it. And after that, I jumped off that same cliff like 3, 4 times that day. And every time I jumped, I just said, you know what? I'm not going to think. I'm just going to do it. And I think that's something that a lot of people can take that can really liberate themselves. If you're ever worried about something, if you're ever anxious about something, you just need to take action, you know, and you'll immediately start to feel better. I always say an idle mind is a devil's workshop, because whenever you're sitting at home, let's say you're scrolling on TikTok and you know you should be studying for that exam, or you know you should be going to the gym and hitting that workout, the more you sit in bed and kind of think about these thoughts without actually taking action, the more time you're allowing for insecurities to come in, anxiety to come in, stress to come in. And the only antidote to that is to actually just get up, tie your shoes, walk to the gym. I find that's the best solution to almost any type of rut that you're facing.
I like that quote. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. That's completely true. You told me before, obviously we're recording this on a Sunday. You just came from church.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been dedicated to your faith? Is this something that you've grown up with? Is it something new? How's that been for you?
So I grew up as a Catholic. I went to Catholic school growing up. My parents are from a state in India called Kerala. It's a state in India with the highest Christian population among any other state. I believe it's like 20%, which still isn't like a majority, but it's high for India. So they came to Canada in the 90s. I was born in 2002, and I grew up going to church every Sunday. And it was just kind of this thing that I would do. I would just go through the motions. My parents would go, so I would go, right? And, you know, I think it was kind of like that for probably the first 18, 19 years of my life. And only recently I started to actually pray more. I think that's what sort of was the foundation of kind of me building my relationship with God. I started to pray every day. I just used to kind of reflect on my day, tell God what I was thankful for, pray for anything that would come up tomorrow. And the more I prayed, the more I started to get more drawn to Christianity. And recently, I think this last year, I've really dived into my faith a lot deeper, because I've faced a lot more challenges. Life's been throwing me a lot of challenges, and it's nice to have something to lean on. You know, because you know, as humans, we don't have we don't have much in our control. So it's nice to kind of lean on a higher power to guide us and to assure us, right? So I started reading my Bible a bit more this past year. Started praying more, started going to church more frequently, and I find it's been very grounding for me. It's been a very good experience, and I plan on like continuing to deepen my faith.
That's awesome. That's really good. I think that a lot of people now, there are I don't want to call them necessarily atheists. I'd more just call them, there are people who are atheists. I'm not saying there aren't atheists, but a lot of the people are just uninformed, and they're like, I don't know about God. It seems like a very complicated thing, so I don't believe in it. And I think that it's because they look at the stories in the Bible and they think, this is obviously impossible. This is not how this would happen. This like someone split the sea. That makes no sense. But the Bible isn't telling a story of scientific truths. It's scientific truth and religious truth is very different. This is from Jordan Peterson. He said that science is telling us what things are, and religion is telling us how you should live. It's completely different. The stories aren't, because science hasn't existed. It's only existed for however many couple hundred of years. When they were writing the stories in the Bible, they weren't doing it as a scientist would do. They weren't following the scientific method. It didn't even exist. So just to completely dismiss it as saying it's not science, it's not real, is amateur, in my opinion.
Agreed.
So I think, I'm on the same thing. I'm not like Christian. I don't know. Maybe I should ask you that, because this is something I've said it so many times, but I don't even completely understand. What is it to be Christian? Is it you have to be baptized? Like, what does it actually mean to be a Christian?
So I believe to be a Christian, you just need to accept Jesus. You know, I try not to, like, I am Catholic. That's like the religion I practice, but I try not to I try to associate myself as a Christian before associating with any religion, because you'll find in a lot of religions they'll say you have to to get to heaven, you have to cross off this checklist. You know, you have to follow these commandments. You have to do this. Otherwise, you're going to hell. But the truth is, if you read the scripture, to get to heaven, you really just need to accept Jesus. You have to understand that he died, he was crucified, and he rose from the dead. And you have to genuinely believe that with your heart and soul and fully accept Jesus. And through belief in Jesus, you get to go to heaven. Because he died for our sins on the cross, you're able to go to heaven, and that's a blessing. You just have to accept it. Does that mean that you can kind of do whatever you want? Be a shitty person, follow all your, just chase pleasure, right. Do all these nasty things? No, that's not what the Bible says. But it does say that if you aren't perfect, you don't need to be perfect to get to heaven. You just need to accept Jesus, and he'll start to work through you. So if, like, I always see myself as a sinner because there are things that I still struggle with. There's things that I still work with. But because I believe in Jesus and because I believe he's working through me, I think I'm going to defeat these sins. I'm going to become a better person. And because I do accept Jesus, I will go to heaven. That's what I believe. And that's what I think that I think is the core principle that every Christian should believe in, because that is what sums up what Christianity is.
Got it.
Yeah.
We'll get right back into it. Take a break for the cameras. I don't know if you
sir.
heard that. And 5 minutes. We'll jump back into it. So, back at it.
Yes, sir.
Short break. We're talking about Christianity. We're talking about Jesus. And a lot of people, the biggest, I guess, believer in God is Satan. So this is the type of thing. A lot of people don't talk about that. The one who's going to hate the most, the one who knows he exists the most.
Number one up.
Exactly. So, but I also think there are some people who say that they don't believe in God or they don't believe in Christianity or the Bible or any of this thing, and they've never actually picked it up. They don't even know necessarily what it is. I think that a lot of people maybe have had bad experiences from someone who claims to be Christian. And I could understand why you'd be afraid of Christianity, but I think that Jesus is good. Jesus, it is the definition of what he is good.
I agree, yeah.
And so for these people, let's say, who had those bad experiences of people who were shouting that they were Christian and then doing maybe terrible things.
Yeah.
How does someone recover from that? What would you say?
I think for a person like that, you should really just try to see who Jesus is for yourself. I think if a lot of people reject Christianity, but they haven't even picked up a Bible. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you just read any of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, you'll realize that the teachings that Jesus provided with us and while he was here on earth are some of the most profound and beautiful teachings that exist out there. And I feel like if you're someone who doesn't believe in Christianity, you really just need to read the Gospels and try to pray to God. Just try to imagine, if you don't believe in God, just imagine that there is a higher being out there that is listening to you, that is caring, as he is described in the Bible. And if you treat this, you can start off as like treating him as an imaginary figure. And I know for a fact that you'll find a lot of peace in that. And I think, if people start to look into the Gospels and look into the Bible and start praying more, it's a net benefit not only for themselves but for society. It'll lead to more well-rounded people. It'll lead to more compassionate people. And it will lead to more kindness in our world.
100%. And even the idea of believing in a God, if it makes you better, in a way makes it true. If you have how many Christians are there in the world? Like over 1 billion, I'm thinking?
Something like that, yeah.
Let's just say if you have 1 billion Christians in the world and all of them are acting in a more upright, respectable, honest, caring, kind, all these things. If they're acting in all of those ways, more so because they believe in this thing, then does that not make it real? It's having a real effect on the world.
It's a governing force that's influencing your actions and making you a better person.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like you can look at like law as the same thing. You know, the reason that one reason that a lot of people don't commit crimes is because there's a consequence to committing crimes.
Right.
And if you believe there's a God watching over your actions and you believe that there are real consequences to you living a life of sin, you're going to choose to be a more spiritually well-rounded person, because you believe that there is a force out there that can bless you abundantly or that can take everything away from you if you don't honor that, if you don't honor those commandments.
Yeah, 100%. You said as a first, I guess, piece of advice to people is to try prayer. And I did a full episode about Christianity with a guy named Emmanuel Wong. He's very dedicated. He knows a lot about it, and he was very good to talk to. I think he was a great example of Christianity, as I believe you are right now. And I asked him, like, what's a piece of advice? And he said the exact same thing. He said, pray. Mm-hmm. And then I asked him what prayer is. For you, I want to ask you, because this is something I'm still a little bit fuzzy on. What is it to pray? Is it expressing gratitude? Is it a lot of, because my original impression was that it's like asking God of favors, but I don't think that's exactly it. What is prayer?
For me, I think prayer is just a conversation with God.
Yeah.
And it's the recognition that you alone aren't enough.
Yeah.
Like you need a father, you need God to guide you. So what I pray for, number one, as you mentioned, I always express gratitude. I always tell God all the things thank God for all the things I'm thankful for. My family, my friends, my social life, my passion for bodybuilding, my healthy body. And I really just try to count my blessings. That alone will make you realize how amazing God is. Being able to live the life that we live is truly a blessing. So that's number one, gratitude. And the second thing I always pray for is I always ask God to make me better, because like I said, there's always something that I'm struggling with. You know what I mean? I'm always being tested in life, as we all are. And I don't pray to God to remove these challenges from my life. I pray to God to make me stronger. I pray to God to improve my faith, to rely on Him more. And I find that that's really helped me develop in all aspects of my life, personally and spiritually. So just asking God to work through you. That's what I would recommend.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's ideal. I think that you said on the podcast right now, like while we were recording, is that going to church grounds you. Mm-hmm. And I've only been 3 times in my life. I should be going more, because when I go there every time, it's like it's a reset button for me. It's like if I'm going through a bad, stressful week, it's cleansing. You know, this the community. I've never, obviously maybe there are church communities out there who aren't as good as others, but for me, it's been 3 out of 3 bang on every time. It's been great. And I like gratitude, this type of thing, and especially knowing that you yourself are not enough. We're all mortals. We're all going to make mistakes. And you can't be your own God. I would recommend you to try and see where that takes you. Because it's nowhere good. And people need faith, and a lot of people who say that they aren't religious are really religious, but perhaps to something else. They're religious to science, or they're religious to a certain political philosophy. They hold that as their highest meaning of life. And I think that the reason that I would take Christianity more is because I think that it's created much more prosperity than perhaps these new religions have.
Agreed. Yeah.
For people that say, or that cite all of the destruction that Christianity has brought about, how would you react to that? How would you react to someone saying, look at all the wars started because of religion, blah, 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 blah? Have you ever had someone ask you that question?
I've actually never gotten to like a religious debate. But my response to that is evil in the world is just the nature of the world. That's not God's fault. It's not God's fault that people are suffering. It's not God's fault that there are wars in the world. And it's also important to make the distinction between faith and religion. You know what I mean? Religion is constructed by humans. Therefore, there are going to be human flaws.
Right.
Like Catholicism, there was the Aboriginal camps that happened in the past. I wouldn't say that was a good thing that happened, you know what I mean? But that's not in alignment with God's teachings. That's in alignment with the humans that were in power of the church at the time. So I would first make the distinction between faith and religion. And number two, I would recognize that suffering in the world is a result of God not being present. So the first original sin, when Adam and Eve took the bite of the apple, God basically said, okay, you guys are going to fall from heaven, and I'm going to basically step away from earth, right? And immediately Adam and Eve realized that they were naked. And as a result of that, now our world, we're filled with, cancer. That's a terrible thing. War, that's a terrible thing. But is that because of God? No, that's just how life is. And I don't think that God is to blame for that. You just need to pray to God to work through these things.
Yeah. I've heard the way I've heard it put, which I think is fantastic, is the free will argument, or that God created free agents. He said that it would be much more beautiful if someone had the choice to do good or bad and still chose good, rather than God being a puppet master and just coordinating everyone to do good.
What's the fun in that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, God wants us to return to him.
Yeah. God
wants us to believe in him, but if God is controlling you and forcing you to believe in him, where's the power in that belief?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's the purpose of that belief? There's no real purpose for it. So I think God steps away from us for us to realize that how much we need him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's true. Like when terrible things happen, a lot of the time I've had it where someone asks me, like, why would God let these things happen to me? Because they didn't have much faith back then. They didn't believe in God, this type of thing back then. And they were growing into it. And they're asking, okay, I'm growing into it, but I still just don't understand. How could God let this happen to me? I said, you didn't believe in God. You weren't speaking to God. You didn't even think about him. Mm-hmm. And so he wasn't there. Where was God in your life? Yeah. He couldn't protect you because you didn't invite him in, or you didn't accept him, that type of thing. And I think that's very important. And just being open-minded about something that is good, and knowing it to be good, and not knowing it as the way this human, what do they call him? The saint, perhaps pictured it to be, or perhaps portrayed it. So that's, I
think a lot of people need to recognize too that a lot of the times, whatever you're going through, your suffering has a purpose. I just finished the book of Genesis. I'm just kind of reading the Bible all over the place, but I read Genesis. I just finished it a few days ago, actually. And the last little segment of Genesis, it's the story of Joseph. Joseph is the son of Jacob, basically, who was basically the founder of Israel, the Israel tribe. And Joseph, he had, I forget how many brothers, but he had quite a large amount of brothers, 8, 9, or 10. And Joseph was favored by his mother. He had like this, like a cloak that his mother gave him, and his brothers were kind of jealous of Joseph. So what his brothers did was they all basically sold him as a slave to the Egyptian empire at the time. And his brothers abandoned him. So his brothers went back to Jacob. Jacob asks, what happened to my son? They said, oh, he was killed by an animal in the wildlife. So their whole family kind of moves on without Joseph, and Joseph is a slave. And for years and years, Joseph is not really living the most optimal life. He's working as a slave. He becomes a prisoner for a short amount of time, but God stays with him. And Joseph, over time, starts getting these visions from God, and a few prisoners in his prison cell start getting these dreams. And Joseph starts speaking to God to interpret these dreams. And the Pharaoh hears about this. They hear that Joseph is able to interpret dreams. He's able to communicate with God. And the Pharaoh basically hires Joseph to work under him. And Joseph starts to work within the kingdom of Egypt. He starts inheriting all of these abundant things. And a famine strikes. and Joseph is able to actually provide for his family. And he has the choice to meet his brothers again, and he chooses to forgive them. And basically what Joseph says is, yeah, I suffered for so many years, but now I'm living in the most abundant state possible. My family is not well off, and I'm able to support them. I'm able to provide for them despite what they did against me.
Yep.
And the story of Joseph is just a big testament to just sticking to your faith with God, no matter what type of suffering you're going through, because who knows what type of abundance can come out of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a beautiful story.
That's a great message. Absolutely. And I own a Bible. I've read parts of it, definitely not enough, but I plan on getting more into it. You literally just open a random page and it's like God speaking to you. It's crazy. Because I started out reading it. I wanted to read it chronologically. I wanted to start with Genesis and just go through the whole thing. But then like the other day I just opened a page and I was like, this is a crazy, I just flipped to a random thing. Everything in here has to be golden. Yeah. So it's very valuable stuff. And if anyone's looking to make 2025 their year, perhaps consider that there is a higher power.
Exactly. That is a New Year's resolution that I approve of.
100%. There you go. So you are 1 year, maybe not. Well, you've just graduated from U of T.
Yeah.
Maybe speak a bit on your experience having completed it already. You're studying in Rotman.
Yeah. How
was it?
How was my Rotman experience?
We'll start with Rotman, and then perhaps U of T general, perhaps the frat experience, all of it.
Yeah. I'd say I had a great experience. Obviously, my first and second year were impacted by COVID.
Yep.
So I didn't, fully experience those to the best of my abilities. But in my third year, I joined Phi Kappa Sigma. Shout out Phi Caps. I had a really great time at the fraternity. Made a lot of great connections, and I really enjoyed my time as a student. Our campus at U of T is beautiful.
Yep.
And it was a bittersweet moment graduating, because for the past 4 years, my life has been, study at Robarts, do your assignments, go to lectures. And then all of a sudden you're kind of left on your own to think like, oh, what am I going to do with my life? But it's been a good transition, I'd say. I've definitely had to ask myself a lot of questions because I have more time for myself. And it's allowed me to kind of reflect and think about what I really want to do with my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that everyone's going to face once they graduate.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder when a lot of people do graduate from here, if they're even going to use that degree. I know for me, I'm studying economics, not saying anything terrible about it. I'm just thinking like, I do have aspirations. I think that I've definitely gained a lot from university, but just the degree on the resume, I don't even know if that qualification is going to be useful for me. And it's incredible what spending 4 years here can do to your mindset and the way that you approach your career. Because I was going in with the assumption that I was going to learn career-worthy skills or I was going to learn new things that would be useful to an employer. Mm-hmm. I realized that perhaps it's a little bit different. I've gained a ton from going to university, but I think it's more indirect. I don't think I gained a ton from the product they were actually selling me, but more the side effects of living on campus and connecting with people and that kind of thing. But
I 100% have a very similar experience to that. Like, I feel like I was a business student. I feel like I didn't learn much about business through school itself, but through my experiences. You know what I mean? And I don't think school provided me with like a strong direction of where I want to be. I kind of learned that on my own as a byproduct of spending 4 years at university. As a byproduct of the conversations I've had with people. I don't think it inherently came from studying for a specific exam or completing a specific course. It was more just a result of over time just experiencing life and figuring it out for myself.
So I have a mental battle with that where it's like I criticize university a lot, but I try not to do it too heavy because like, is that experience, is these 4 years here, all these side effects, is that credit to the university? Should it be credit to the university?
If I'm being honest, like, I can't say I gained everything from directly going to university, but if I didn't go to university, I wouldn't have had this experience either way. So it's like university isn't directly responsible for my personal growth.
Yeah.
But I would not be the same person I am without going to university.
Right. That's the battle I go through a lot. And it's like, I won't talk bad, but I'm not going to give you guys a ton of credit either. You know, there's a balance. We'll just stay silent on this one. But it's fun. I think that by the end of this, it's more than the degree. It's more than the degree. And
yeah, for sure.
For you, I want to ask more about the living in the frat environment.
Yeah.
You gave the example earlier about those 5 meals that you're eating, where the other guys were, or I don't know if it was 5 meals then, but you're eating healthy. The other guys were perhaps bringing in Uber Eats type of thing. How do you, now that you're out of that environment, perhaps a little bit, curate your circle, curate the people you're around? Because they say you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I'm sure you had to fight that force.
That's very true.
For a good amount of time. Is it easier now for you?
I would say so. Yeah. I met a lot of people at the frat, and some of them are my closest friends. Yeah. But not all of them are the best influence, if I'm being honest. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I love them. I love them to death. But would I, start a business with some of them? Definitely not. Would I party with them on a Friday night? Yeah, for sure. They're my bros, right?
Shout out
Phi Cap. But yeah, now that I'm graduating, I'm having a lot more time to myself, and I'm very selective with the people I spend my time around. Yeah. Because I'm at a stage where everything I do now is going to either build up my life or deteriorate my life. So it's like, who are you spending your time around? What type of activities are you participating in? What are you doing with your free time? All these little things, especially when you're graduated and you're around less people, you have more time to think about these things and be more conscious of how you spend your time and energy, because those are your most valuable resources. Those are what are going to either make or break you.
Yeah. There's a beautiful understanding of how you trade your youth and your youthful energy for experience. So you have the 20-year-old and the 70-year-old in perhaps competing in business in the same world, maybe not directly, but like in the same world.
Yeah.
The idea is that the 20-year-old has zero experience. He doesn't know anything. What he has is energy. He has more energy than the 70-year-old. The 70-year-old's basically drained all of his energy away. Unless your name's Donald Trump, then he can go, he pushes through, he gets shot, whatever, he's an exception. But basically, most people, when they get to that age, they're kind of slowing down. When you're 20, you trade your energy for experience points. So the worst situation ever is to be 70 with no energy or experience. Yeah. You want to at least do the trade-off, because you're losing the energy anyways.
Exactly, yeah.
You want to spend it on things that are going to make you still valuable when you're at this age.
Yep.
So I think that that's important. What else was I going to say about that progression?
You could well, a lot of people also think that working hard is wasting your youth. I completely disagree with that. I think working hard is probably the best use of your energy, because when you're young, this is the most amount of energy you're going to have for life.
Right.
This is your opportunity to build yourself up. And for me personally, the times in my life where I've worked the hardest have been the most rewarding.
Yeah.
They've been a lot more fun. As I mentioned before, way more fun than the parties, way more fun than the trips, the vacations. It's whenever I'm locked in, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
I feel amazing. And part of that is obviously due to, like we mentioned, having respect for yourself, doing the things you say you're going to do. Yeah. And another part of that is just being able to accomplish something, working towards a goal and seeing it come to fruition.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have as many opportunities when you're older to do that, I feel.
Right.
When you're 20, you can say, F it, I want to do whatever I want. You know what I mean? I was in 4th year and I decided to do a bodybuilding competition when I was working a part-time job. I was studying for exams,
Yeah.
and I was living in a fraternity.
Wild.
Like I had everything against me,
Yeah.
everything telling me I should not do this, but I just did it anyways.
Yeah.
Was it difficult? Yes. Was it miserable at times? Yes. But did I feel amazing about myself for doing it? Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's the trade-off that people need to be using with their energy. Like, spend your energy towards building something.
Yeah.
It's the best way to spend it.
Absolutely. And I did remember what I was going to say. This is a Hormozy quote, I think. You either spend your 20s working your ass off and you become an underlived 30-year-old, or you spend your 20s partying it up and you become an underperforming 30-year-old.
Yep.
You got to choose one
I
and
love
be
that
happy
quote.
with it. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'd rather be underlived.
Yeah.
Because honestly, what is the experience in your 20s? For me, what I think is fun is being able to do things that few people are able to do. Going to the club and partying it up is accessible to 99% of people.
It doesn't make you different.
No, it
doesn't. It doesn't make you and like, I feel like that's the quest that I'm on as well. Like, I want to be different.
Yeah.
Especially like in terms of physique development. You ever see those guys in the gym that are just absolutely huge?
Yeah.
Whether they're natty or not, like that, I don't want to get into that. But like, you look at some of these guys and you just say like, wow, they have like, this is aura. You know what I mean? This is the definition of aura. And how do you get this? Like, it's something that's rare because they're doing things that nobody's willing to do, and they have this literal proof of what that gets you.
Right.
They're the embodiment of something that's rare and hard to accomplish. And I feel like that is the biggest flex. You know what I mean? That is a much bigger flex than saying, "Oh, I got wasted on Friday."
100%, yeah, 100%.
I mean? Like,
that's anyone could do that. Yeah. It's an energy that you feel around them. I heard this. I don't know. You know what it was? I saw it on the thumbnail of a YouTube video the other day. So random, but at least it popped out to me. I didn't watch the video. I just saw it on a thumbnail, and the title said, "How to gain a physique that gives you a celebrity aura." And it's like, you know what? I didn't watch it. I was like, this is a waste of my time. But I understand exactly what they're saying. Yeah. When you walk into a room, because everyone's gone, anyone who's obviously pushed themselves hard enough in the gym to see that change in physique knows the difference of feeling of having. For me, it was pecs, because I was always flat chest. I was a skinny guy, and when the first time I looked in the mirror and I was like, wait a minute, and I lifted up and did a little bit of a tit bounce. I was like, no way, this is awesome. Yeah. It makes you walk differently.
You do.
And
you really do.
I was talking to my mom we were in the Tim Hortons drive-thru once, and I was like, people treat you way better when you have a strong physique. And she was like, okay, I kind of understand. But what she said is that I think it's more you are carrying yourself differently because you have the strong physique. You're more self-confident, so people see the self-confidence, and that's the actual reason. I was like, okay, kind of similar thing, but I get your point.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of both. Like, building a physique and having a physique allows you to have something you're proud of. Mm-hmm. Like, you're able to walk around with that confidence that you are who you say you are. You have that. You literally have the undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are.
And you can't buy it.
Physique, and you cannot buy it. What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, about how people treat you differently. It's also a testament to discipline, because when somebody, like when I see someone with a great physique, I can tell that this person, he goes to the gym, but what's deeper than that? They have discipline. They have the discipline to commit to a diet plan. They have the discipline to say no to temptations and to stay locked in the gym. Yeah. Like, a healthy body is a symbol. It's a symbol that you take care of yourself and that you take pride in yourself and that you respect yourself. Yeah, 100%. And the fact that you can do these things and you decide not to, obviously this is, I don't know, perhaps this is a little bit cliche, but obviously there are people in the world who are missing limbs or who are injured for life, this type of thing. And if you circle back to God, if God's given you a healthy body, if God's given you all the things you need to make him proud and to show the full capability of what you can become, especially as a man, if you want to have that strength and you want to see the full force potential of what you can turn into, and you decide, I'm gonna play Clash Royale with my buddy. I was like, okay, good game, but unfortunately, that's not the peak, the peak euphoria of life. Yeah. Yeah, laziness and comfort is honestly, this goes hand in hand with my relationship with God. I feel like laziness and comfort is disrespectful to God. That's me saying, God, I don't appreciate this beautiful, healthy body that you blessed me with. I don't appreciate it enough to take care of it. I'm gonna sit down and eat McDonald's and play Clash Royale and watch Netflix. I think that's probably the most disrespectful thing you can do, especially if you've been blessed with a healthy body. You need to take care of it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I'm going to see how much time we're at here, see what the cameras are looking like.
Yes, sir.
Looking good here, looking good here. I think we're just about ready to wrap up.
Sounds good.
This has been a fantastic conversation. I appreciate you. You're motivating me right now.
You're motivated me, man. The more I speak about this, the more I feel like fired up to get after it.
100%. Yeah. So we'll keep in touch.
100%.
Do you have any final thoughts, any last words you want to share with the audience here?
Let me think.
No rush.
This was a dramatic pause, but I don't have anything to say. I think we covered everything up.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I think if someone's in that rut, if someone's in that space of not being able to break habits and feeling like they can't just even get out of bed, I think the first thing is, I'm talking about like people who are in long-term ruts. Obviously, after your bodybuilding experience there, you said there was a few days where you gained 8 pounds, this kind of thing. I think people who have been in this kind of longer term is accepting that you are not enough. You can't do it on your own. You need help, and you need help from someone who can help you all the time. The only I was gonna say person, but I guess the only person that is Jesus, is God.
Yep.
So accepting that, and even if it's your conceptualization of it, doesn't even necessarily need to be. You don't need to term it as God. You can say the universe. You can say there is something bigger.
Something bigger.
So that's that. Zach,
Carter,
thanks for coming on the podcast. Thank you
so much, man.
I appreciate your time. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Zach Joseph, episode 87. This is the last episode of the year. Thank you for sticking around, supporting the entire way through. Here's to a great 2025, and we will see you next Sunday. Peace out.
Peace.